Hey everyone, Bryan here. Coming at you today with a new video, a little bit different one than I'm used to doing. I wanted to talk to you today about hackers. If you saw the name of this video, it says hackers suck at hacking. And the reality of it is hackers don't suck at hacking. But the interesting thing that I find with businesses, and we look at a lot of businesses out there that have been affected by cyber attacks and cyber breaches, and I can tell you the one thing that hackers are really good at, the number one thing that they're good at, is exposing poorly run businesses. The amount of hacks against poorly run businesses and the amount of hacks that are successful against poorly run businesses far outweigh the companies that actually run themselves like real companies. So what does that mean? Do you know if you're a well-run company or not? Or do you have a well-run company? I don't know, but here's the common trends that I see between businesses that can actually survive a cyber attack and the ones that are probably going to go out of business behind a cyber attack. But like I said, hackers are really good. They're better at exposing poorly run businesses than they are at hacking. If you look at the percentages, because the amount of companies that they actually have to go after to achieve a successful attack is far higher, and it's a greater amount than the actual number of poorly run businesses that are affected by a cyber attack. So, the things that you need to have in place in order to survive a cyber attack are things like processes and procedure, and a full analysis of the impact that it would have on your business and the community or clients that you serve. What will that look like to them if your business isn't able to operate? So these are the questions, these are the things that need to be evaluated when you are trying to figure out if your business is prepared to fend off or live through a cyber attack. If your business does not have things like processes around its operations, around how it does HR, how it handles getting paid and paying vendors, the stark contrast between the businesses that have these things in place and the businesses that don't are great. We see it all the time from our side of the business when we go in and evaluate companies, and we know pretty much based on how a company is set up to operate. We don't even really have to look at their technology or their cybersecurity per se. We can just ask them questions about how they run their business, and we'll know pretty quickly whether or not they are the type of business that's prepared and able to withstand what they would have to go through should they have to deal with a cyber attack, or maybe a fire or a flood, or any kind of disruption to their business that requires their technology to not be available or to be down. But as I look at things and as I evaluate hacks and look at how businesses were hacked and whether or not they can recover and resume normal operations after they are hacked, the one thing that I keep seeing is that the hackers are very good at putting a magnifying glass on poorly run companies. They're very good at exposing how poorly run your company is and how much of there is a lack of process, there's a lack of order. When it comes to technology, if you've never done a business impact analysis to determine if certain systems or certain computers or servers were not available, what would that look like to your business and what would the impact be? Who would be affected? This goes along with the video I created yesterday around the German hospital that was attacked and somebody died as a result. Hackers are very good at penetrating businesses that are poorly run. If your company has done a business impact analysis, has gone through a cybersecurity evaluation, you know what I'm talking about. You know the things that need to be done. There has to be process. There has to be procedures that support your business running no matter what happens to it. So It's food for thought. It's something that for you to think about. It's something that I wanted to bring to your attention today. That, from a business perspective, from a CEO perspective, the cyber threats are real. But what comes out of it on the other side is really just an exposure of how poorly run those companies were. And if you go back and you read articles on the Capital One breach or any other breach that's been evaluated, in the last 2 or 3 years, you're going to find a common thread that there was poor management, there was mismanagement, or there was just a woeful neglect of cybersecurity practices, best practices that were completely ignored or never implemented in these businesses. So, it's really important that you start looking at your business as a real business, because not only does it affect how successful your business is going to be, but hackers are now taking advantage of this, and they're exposing how poorly run your companies are by not only cyber attack, but through cyber attacks, but they're also now taking the data and they're moving it to the dark web and they're putting it for sale in the dark web. So when your customers wonder why their information is now for sale in the dark web, or their identity was stolen because your company was hacked, that shines a big spotlight on how well you run your company and how well you have it put together, and how well are you handling not only your operations but your cybersecurity. And I have yet to meet a business where they did everything the right way, operations wise, and HR wise, and accounts payable, accounts receivable wise, and then they just didn't do cybersecurity really well. How well you do cybersecurity goes hand in hand with how well you run your business. So take that into consideration. It kind of goes along the lines of what I say when hackers embarrass companies and things like that. But this is really hits home, and this is the crux of the issue. The crux of the issue is that the hackers really, at the end of the day, the majority of them are not that good. There's a very small percentage out there that are very, very good. Most of the other hackers out there are, average. When you start to compare hacking skills and things like that. However, when you have poorly run businesses, poorly run processes, and you handle your IT and your security poorly, you're making it easier for the average hacker to make it look like he's a really good hacker. And again, I'll go back to the Capital One breach. The person who hacked Capital One was not a hacker. They were not somebody who was trained to exploit code or hardware devices or things like that. It was just a regular person who had insight into how something was being done within Capital One's IT department, and they were able to exploit that. But it really doesn't, nobody should be praising the hacker from a hacker standpoint for what they did. This really just fell onto Capital One, and Capital One not preparing and not doing the things that they needed to do from a cybersecurity standpoint within their own business. And the government audit report shows that, and it's been disclosed to the public, the woeful lack of security, both by the management of Capital One and by the board of directors. So, if you run your company well, make sure you're doing the cybersecurity piece of it as well as you are the rest of your business. And if you don't have things like process and procedures in your business, and you quite frankly show up every day and make money, and there's really no process or any structure behind what you're doing, I highly recommend that you start thinking about that. You can look at things like traction, like scaling up, organizational excellence through Sandler training. These are all the tools that you would need to run your business the right way. And there's a lot of similarities between running cybersecurity the right way and what these books and what these organizations teach as they teach companies how to run their business better, and they teach companies how to put structure and those types of things in place to make your business more successful. And quite frankly, I've been through both, on both sides, on the business and on the IT side, and the similarities are just striking in how well things like the NIST cybersecurity framework and ideas and philosophies between scaling up and traction and those types of business of Rockefeller habits, those types of things line up with good cybersecurity. So this is Bryan Hornung. I hope you learned something today. If you did, hit the like button, and if you're so inclined, hit subscribe. We love to have you subscribe to our channel so you get alerts when we put new content like this out. My goal here is to bring you the latest news on cybersecurity and give you updates and tie business and cybersecurity and all things tech, demystify the great cloud that exists around tech and cybersecurity for many people out there that don't understand it at the level that we do here at Xact IT. So I look forward to bringing you more content, and hopefully you like what you see here and you like it and you subscribe to our channel, and I look forward to seeing you all real soon. Take care, everyone.